So I finally did it. I finally beat Blood Swamps. And not only that, I finally have this guide out. Only took half a week, but better late than never. And hopefully, with this guide, your luck is a lot better than mine. I had a meat hook glitch out on me, I had a cacodemon glitch out on me during one of the secret encounters while I was fighting a Baron, and I had an entire arena glitch out on me. An empowered Revenant ended up spawning somewhere, and I couldn't progress because the next wave of demons in one of the fights wouldn't spawn in. Which, thankfully, if you just close your app and don't quit the game saves it as a checkpoint, so luckily I was able to recover. But nonetheless, welcome to the Blood Swamps guide on how to beat this level in Ultra Nightmare. This is going to be a full, solid video. The entire level in one go. No idea how long this video is going to be, and no timestamps. Good luck trying to find whatever it is you're looking for. I'm kidding. All the timestamps for whatever it is you're specifically looking for are going to be right here on the screen, or if I forget, they should be in the description. With that being said, this is going to be a long ass video, so let's just jump into it. So starting up the level, you're going to want to completely zip by this entire area, or at least I did. This whole portion is pretty much just a breeze. Just know once you get to this side of the gap, a Mancubus is going to spawn, and once this Mancubus is killed and you progress forward, a second Mancubus is going to spawn across the way. There's also plasma ammo on the platform that this Mancubus is on, and shotgun shells on the other platform that I initially jumped on. I would actually recommend, especially if you already have 3 chainsaws saved up, to try and refrain from accidentally picking up either of those ammunition drops. That way you can save your chainsaw fuel for a potential heavy later on, and you can exit this small fight in a better situation ammo wise. You also notice during this gameplay I'm kind of sticking to the left side, using that corner as cover against this tentacle, which I recommend doing. It just makes it a whole lot easier. But you got to take care of that tentacle, take care of the Revenant, and then there's going to be some fodder demon in the area that I recommend hitting with the flame belch or the meat hook if you ended up in a situation where you lost armor or health. There's also health on the highest platform in this area moving forward. Once that Revenant and that tentacle is taken care of, you're now going to enter this area where it's basically just a long hallway, some environmental hazards, some fodder demon, a chainsaw fuel canister, and a Pinky ultimately is going to spawn right next to that health pack on the right hand side. Now, it seems like the Pinky is the trigger. Once the Pinky dies, the Marauder is going to spawn. What I'd recommend is, if you can, try to bunch up as much of the fodder demon together, hit him with the flame belch, follow up with a grenade. That way you have a pool of armor on the ground, and then you can blood punch the Pinky and then immediately take on that Marauder. I would also say this is my dry run gameplay, so I really didn't have a strategy down, but the best way to deal with the Marauder is basically just move back and forth on the staircase. Just be aware of those environmental hazards, you know, those little bubbles that burst, as well as the other fodder demon in the area. I'm pretty sure the bubbles can trigger the Marauder's wolf. Not entirely sure, but if it's possible, you still want to be on guard for that. But once the Marauder's killed, if nothing else is alive in the arena minus the undead walking around, you can meat hook one of them, throw yourself in the air, turn around, and bypass the Hell Knight that spawns and the 3 imps that spawn on the other ledge. This way, the only things you really have to worry about are the imp that spawns and the Cyber Mancubus that spawns, which is no problem. Just ice bomb the Cyber Mancubus, hit him with the blood punch and a super shotgun or ballista shot. Should take care of him very quickly. Now, if you haven't picked up the support room from the Slayer Gate in the previous level, I recommend taking this opportunity to dashing across this body of water, picking up that super shotgun and plasma ammo if you need it, or even if you don't, just go across here, double back, hit the launch pad, head back in this direction. You're going to find this breakable barrier, and then you're just going to keep walking forward. The reason why I recommend going across the body of water is because you're progressing far enough to bypass the Hell Knight that spawns here, which is especially helpful if you have 3 chainsaws saved up and you don't want to use it quite yet, and you just want to be able to use your ammo for as long as possible. And quickly with that support room, I recommend Break Blast, or the support room that launches a concussive wave whenever you break a weak point. But whether if you get that support rune or not, when you jump out of the water, you're going to come across a fight with a Baron and a bunch of fodder demon. What I recommend, what I actually think is the best way to deal with this, is ice bomb the Baron as soon as he lands, maybe 2 bursts from the lock-on mod from the rocket launcher, blood punch, and then super shotgun ballista if need be. I think that was the fastest way I ran through this fight without wasting a ton of ammo. After this, you're going to interact with this console, and a Mancubus is automatically going to jump up here. You can use this opportunity to chainsaw him or just take him out however you see fit. Just be aware that the Mancubus does spawn here. And if you're worried about where your ammo is in terms of plasma and super shotgun, just know in the next big area you do have the opportunity of exploring, there's no fight here, and there's plenty of shotgun shells, plasma ammo, armor, and health if need be, and of which the majority of that stuff is located behind the stairs you're walking down, just so you know. Of course, there's a bunch of fodder demon. You can flame belch, meat hook if you need armor, glory kill. Feel free to use a chainsaw if you like, because whether if you go left or if you go right here, there are chainsaw pickups for you to recuperate that one you just lost. Now, I always go left first. Of course, you can go about it however you see fit, but I'm going to be tackling the left side first, which some of you guys most likely already noticed I'm already running through. So to quickly explain my smooth brain logic here, I'm running through without paying any mind to any of the demons. Whenever the opportunity presents itself, I do meat hook, followed up with a shotgun blast to gain any armor that I may potentially lose as I'm moving. I also look for opportunities where demons are bunched up, hitting them with the flame batch followed by a grenade with the same mindset, where if I get hit, I can recuperate that while still moving forward. On the very last stretch, a cacodemon spawns and there's a turn across the way. In this gameplay specifically, I meat hook the cacodemon, turn around the corner, and completely skip this entire arena. If for whatever reason your meat hook is not ready, if you're confident or good enough with your movement, you can jump up, dash to the right, escaping that cacodemon potentially hitting you, hit the monkey bar, and then turning that corner. Either way, highly recommend skipping this entire arena. It's just, there's no point in fighting any of this. And this is where the level starts to get really exciting. Right here, you're gonna come across a bunch of buffed demons. The main cause of concern is a buffed prowler. Beyond that, it's a bunch of fodder demons. So you're gonna want to clear out the area, and then you're gonna progress forward to dealing with the buffed Marauder. Now, the basic strategy I highly recommend is do not go on the sides. You want to stay in the center, because if you go on the sides, you're running the potential of A, cornering yourself because that's where fodder demons spawn, and B, getting yourself killed because you're too close to those environmental hazards that can hurt you and potentially trigger the Marauder's woof. That is still yet to be confirmed by someone who's willing to see if that really happens or not. To show exactly what I mean, we're gonna trash this gameplay. This is smooth brain gameplay. Don't know what the fuck I'm doing. So, basic movement strategy, you're staying up the middle. As soon as you land in the arena, the Marauder's already getting prepared to spawn in. What I recommend is going over here to the right of him, and about right before he jumps out, you want to fire off a grenade. That should stumble him if timed correctly, and that should allow you to get a couple shots off before he recovers. Once he recovers, you're gonna want to react like your stepfather just came home with a vengeance.
Make me sick to look. Keep them coming, candy ass. Can't throw.
Retreat, find a position that grants you an advantage and wait for him to come to you, and then when the opportunity presents itself, hit him with the double barrel shotgun or a ballista. Now in this specific gameplay, I ended up running out of ammo, so I just basically ran in a circle into the fodder demon spawn, chainsaw the fodder demon, and then moved around back and forth using that center lane to my advantage. I recommend single dashes as well, as that's a good way of just to avoid being hit, and then when he gets too close, maybe a double dash to try and really increase that gap between the two of you, lessening the likelihood of him hitting you with his own shotgun up close. And once the Marauder's killed, you can finish off the fodder demon. If you need any health or armor, now would be the opportunity to take advantage of that, because once you take out this buff totem and you interact with the console, you're going to come across your very first spirit. It's going to be a possessed Hell Knight. Now, I could be mistaken here, but I'm pretty sure Hell Knights share the same health pool as Arachnotrons, and if that's the case, you can just hit the Hell Knight with 3 lock-on bursts, and that should kill it. But in this specific gameplay, I ended up charging up the Destroyer Blade, following it up with the Super Shotgun, and then 2 lock-on bursts from the rocket launcher, and that seemed to work just fine. Now, my dumbass, I didn't have enough plasma ammo, so what I ended up doing was, instead of focusing on the spirit, I ended up taking care of the Mancubus to eliminate the possibility of that Mancubus becoming possessed. Which, some other cool tidbits of information when it comes to the spirit is, in situations like this where you don't have enough plasma ammo, you can do a couple things. You can tell what the next demon is going to be that's going to become possessed. So in my case, I could have immediately dealt with the imp that was becoming possessed if I really wanted to, via chainsawing him and then turning back around and focusing on that spirit, but that would still leave the Mancubus alive. I would say if it was the Mancubus that was becoming possessed and you didn't have the ability to immediately eliminate that Mancubus, in situations like that, I would recommend doing as much damage, possibly even prioritizing those weak points prior to the Mancubus becoming possessed. Which means, yeah, it sucks that the Mancubus is becoming possessed, but now you're dealing with one that's severely weakened, whereas in contrast, if you didn't do that, you'd be dealing with the Mancubus that's possessed and fully healed. Also, just so you know, a spirit possesses 3 demons before it just decides to vanish. So if I killed that Mancubus, killed the imp that it possessed, after that Hell Knight, it would have possessed 1 more demon. If I was to kill that follow-up demon and to not really focus on the spirit, it would just vanish. Just so you guys know, I learned that when playing like IGN. But once the area is taken care of, you're going to come into the small area where you're going to be facing an Arachnotron on your right, a turret right next to that, and a turret and some fodder demon on your left. And then if you go on the elevated platform, a Hell Knight and some fodder demon are going to spawn. Also, just so you know, I mean, this always happens to me, but that Arachnotron that spawns almost always is an empowered one, which you can turn those off in the menu, and that won't affect whether if you're considered to have successfully completed Ultra Nightmare or not. I know some people don't like that extra challenge. I leave it on simply for the fact that those are tons of extra pools of resources at the cost of an extra shot or two. But nonetheless, I focus on that Arachnotron, ice bomb the turret, come up top to trigger that Hell Knight to spawn. You can get rid of them with a quick lock-on burst from the rocket launcher, deal with the fodder demon, then finish off that turret. Then you're gonna come back up top, interact with this breakable wall, and that's gonna spawn a Doom Hunter on your left and a giant ass tentacle directly in front of you. What I ended up doing was waiting until my ice bomb was ready, then I triggered this so that way I can actually ice bomb the Doom Hunter, just to make him easier. But I'm sure you noticed I wasted the ice bomb on the tentacle, so that was nice. Once the Doom Hunter is taken care of along with that giant invincible tentacle, you're gonna progress forward. Before leaving this area, you're gonna want to turn to the right hand side here and grab the Sentinel armor if you need it, of course. Now you're gonna drop down from here. There is an extra fuel canister. You're gonna grab that if you need it, and this is where we're gonna come across the possessed Arachnotron. Now I was told, I've never actually done this, that you can fire off a BFG shot killing everything, eliminating the possibility of the spirit even spawning in. Whether if that's viable or not, I don't entirely know. I've never done it, but the quickest way to get through this, especially since when you're traversing through the fog here you can get hit by a tentacle, is you're gonna jump, dash twice, hit the ground, and then as soon as anything comes into view, you're gonna meat hook that, throw yourself in the air, and try to land on the center platform. On the center platform, you're gonna want to try to pinpoint where that possessed Arachnotron is, hit him 3 times with the lock-on mod from the rocket launcher, and then instantly get rid of the spirit. I also want to make it clear, while you're on the center platform, there's a high probability that you are getting shot at, so to reduce the likelihood of you getting hit is to jump and basically move around in a circle like this. You want to try to be as elusive and as hard of a target as you possibly can, because you are essentially standing still. But once that Arachnotron and the spirit's taken care of, you're going to be dealing with 3 Specter pinkies, a bunch of fodder demon, and then once those Specters are taken care of, a Doom Hunter is going to spawn. Now the ideal way of getting rid of the Doom Hunter is essentially an ice bomb, 2 blood punches, which will instantly get rid of his craft, and then you follow that up with a super shock and ballista combination, or if you can't, ice bomb, 1 blood punch, a grenade, super shock and ballista, that should get rid of his craft, and then you can just follow that up with as much damage downrange as you possibly can. But your best friends really are your flame belch and your meat hook. You don't want to get caught out from any of the fodder demon or cornered essentially, and you just want to make sure that your health doesn't drop drastically low. You can also use that center platform to your advantage, just trying to make sure that only the Doom Hunter is capable of hitting you, which is easy to dodge those missiles. Now I'm gonna skip the next area. It's just some small platforming. There is some resources you can pick up, but we're gonna move past this and we're gonna get into the area where you're coming across 2 Specter Whiplashes and a Tyrant, and there are also some tentacles in the area, so be careful of that. Now the fight's pretty straightforward. You can get rid of the Whiplashes with the lock-on mod, which, by the way, if you ice bomb Specters, you can meat hook and lock onto them. So I'd recommend trying to ice bomb both Whiplashes simultaneously and getting rid of them via lock-on mod that way. Then that way you're just dealing with the Tyrant. I mean, it's a pretty easy arena. Just be aware those are the demons that you're going to be facing. Also, if you need a BFG shot, you're going to come over here to this corner, come underwater here, and it's all the way on the other side of this long, I guess you can call it, hallway. Just know once you pop up out of the water, a Hell Knight and a Mancubus is going to spawn, which Hell Knight immediately dies with a lock-on burst, and I think a lock-on burst followed by a super shock and kills the Mancubus as well. But that's where the BFG shot is. After grabbing that BFG shot, you're going to progress to the next arena where you got to get rid of a Hell Knight, and then immediately behind you a Dread Knight's going to spawn, which both of them can easily be dealt with a lock-on burst. You're going to clear out all the remaining fodder demon, and then you're going to have to interact with the console for the doors to open. Now I will say though, if you want to get rid of the secret encounter, instead of going through these doors, you got to turn around, go up the stairs, go through a little bit of platforming, and knock this block down. Now for this secret encounter, it's actually pretty straightforward, provided you know exactly what you're facing. When you start up the secret encounter, directly in front of you there's going to be a Whiplash that spawns, there's going to be a Whiplash that spawns to your back left, and then a Mancubus spawns right next to that. And then as you start getting rid of these heavies, a Baron is ultimately going to spawn. So I recommend dealing with both Whiplashes via lock-on mod, taking care of the Mancubus, which I got rid of with the chainsaw, then you can focus entirely on the Baron, which you'd also notice that there's a ton of armor that I left on the ground simply by utilizing the meat hook and the flame belch whenever I can. It's a good idea to use your flame belch on crowds of demons whenever those opportunities present themselves. Simple enough. Now doubling back to those doors that we strayed from, they're going to open up and then you have this platforming section to get by, which I'm going to just completely skip. Once you get past that platforming section, you're going to come across a breakable door on your left hand side. If you need a BFG shot, it's behind that door. Once you get to the other side, there's going to be some zombies and a pinky. You can skip this entirely, although I always at least kill the pinky out of fear of it for whatever reason making contact with me. So I kill the pinky and then I progress forward, which when you land on the platform on the other side, a pain elemental is going to spawn, but I just skip it. There's no reason to even fight it. And now we are at the first big trial. This fight is exciting. I got it down to a T. So before we talk about what we're going to face, let's talk about this arena layout. You have 3 lanes, left, right, center, with the right side being your immediate cause for concern. The reason being, right above where this launch pad is where the first buff totem is going to spawn. As soon as this fight starts, a buff totem will spawn, and that's where it's going to be. Right next to this launch pad, you have one of the 2 fuel canisters that's in this arena. You have some extra plasma ammo. Once you hit that launch pad up top, there is some extra health pickups as well. Up the center, down below, you have an extra health pickup again. Up top, across the bridge, you have rocket launcher ammo, as well as some extra health. Left side, you have the portal, armor, health, plasma ammo, and then once you go to that back portal right next to the entrance, there is a second fuel canister that you can pick up. And right in front of this back portal is where this second buff totem is going to spawn. So you can take the other portal to immediately pop out and get rid of that buff totem, or you can use the monkey bars located dead center to go directly to the back as well. Last thing I want to mention is in the back of the arena, there is a mega health, which will fill up your armor and health, which I would recommend as a complete last resort. If you're on the verge of death and can't make it to any of the health pickups in the arena and you feel like you can't recover, I would say save it for one of those moments. And there's of course an extra BFG shot in the arena as well, but you should be stocked up on that. But now that we have the arena mapped out, let's get ready to start this. When you start it, there's going to be 4 revenants that spawn. 1 directly in front of you, 1 directly to your right, and the other 2 are spawned a little bit towards the back. If you're quick enough, you can instantly get rid of the one that spawns directly in front of you, which is the one that spawns on the left hand side. I was actually facing the wrong direction. The one I'm referring to as your right hand side is the one that I actually meat hook to throw myself closer to the buff totem. But I'd say lock on that first one, meat hook the second one, get yourself closer to that buff totem. Once you kill at least 2 of the revenants, the next wave is going to spawn, which is basically 2 prowlers. When those 2 prowlers are killed, the next wave is going to spawn, which is 4 carcasses and 2 hell knights, which it actually looks after doing another run. The next wave after this can spawn with all the carcasses still alive. You just have to kill those 2 hell knights, which the wave after that would be a buff totem and 2 tyrants. And as I told you, that second buff totem spawns directly in front of the portal in the back of the arena. So you're going to want to prioritize that buff totem, and then you can focus on the 2 tyrants, which once you kill one of those tyrants, 2 barons are going to spawn. And basically, once those 2 barons spawn, knowing the arena layout and how to stay a step ahead of them in your movement is key to staying alive. You want to utilize jump pads, meat hooks, monkey bars, dashes, ice bomb. When they spawn, movement first, shoot second, take advantage of those portals, and you want to stay a step ahead of them. I would also recommend, if you can, try to bait 1 or 2 carcasses towards the back corner where that possessed baron spawns, because after messing around with it, it looks like you can actually make the spirit spawn in possessing a carcass and not a baron. I ended up doing this back to back. It seems kind of inconsistent, but I would recommend trying to get that carcass back in that corner just in case if that is where the spirit spawns. Maybe it'll prioritize the carcass over the baron, which of course obviously is going to make the run a little bit harder because now you're having multiple carcasses alive. But if you're confident in your movement, it shouldn't be that much of a problem. But you're going to want to kill those 2 regular barons, finish off the tyrant, and then the next wave, final wave, is going to spawn, which is that possessed baron, which always spawns first and always spawns in the back right hand corner of the arena. Now in this gameplay, as soon as I killed that tyrant, I immediately fired off a BFG shot just for the sake of granting a little extra damage to that baron prior to him becoming possessed. And then now the way I basically deal with him is cat and mouse. I try to stay a step ahead of him everywhere I go. You notice I use chainsaws tactically. I don't use it just for ammo. I use it basically to save myself, and then I'll dash past him, and then I'm basically just moving about the arena. I'm trying to chip away at both the baron's health simultaneously if I can, and the reason being is I'm leaving the possibility in my mind where if I do kill the possessed baron and for one reason or another I can't kill the summoner, at at least the other Baron that he does possess will already be closer to death. And it's not a fully healed Baron that I'm dealing with. Now, just like fighting the two Marauders though, my ultimate goal is to isolate them. I want to be able to kill the possessed Baron and kill the summoner without having to worry about the other Baron on my back. So the way I end up doing it in this gameplay is I make sure that my plasma ammo is full. I finish off the possessed Baron by itself, isolate the summoner. I also have an ice bomb ready just in case if the other Baron gets a little too close. I can hit him with an ice bomb, and that way I can focus on the summoner without being distracted. This is actually a little bit of an afterthought as well. The blood-fueled rune might become a little handy in this arena, considering whenever glory kills or chainsaws are initiated, you do get a nice speed boost, which might put you a step ahead of that possessed Baron. Now, some extra tips I recommend, especially when it comes to the possessed Baron: don't forget to utilize those portals. Even though my dumbass didn't, for some people that could be the difference between life and death. And unlike in battle mode, portals in the single player don't have any cooldown, so you can just keep jumping back and forth. I would also say don't forget to utilize, of course, your flame belch, your meat hook, but also your ice bombs. Ice bombs grant increased damage to demons that are frozen. When you damage or even kill demons that are frozen, they all drop health, so even if your health is maxed out currently, that extra health can contribute to your blood punch, which is a very nice tool when taking out weak points, taking out groups of demons. Especially if you hit them with an ice bomb, flame belch, and blood punch, you're not only clearing out a patch of a bunch of annoying ass fodder demon, but you're also getting a huge resource refill. And finally, if you can, get the carcass to become possessed 1,000 times easier, trust me. But even if you gotta deal with the Baron, all you gotta do is constantly just stay on that move. A charged up destroyer blade and a lock-on mod from the rocket launcher seems to be your best bet in doing the most amount of damage there. But once those Barons are taken care of and all the fodder demon is clear, your first trial is now officially over. Time to move on to the second trial, or the right side, if you will. Just like with the left side, we're gonna skip all this bullshit because there's no reason in fighting any of this. Now, if you're good with your meat hook, you can actually meat hook the Revenant that's picking on the imp there, and then throw yourself onto the ledge. Or in my case, because he wasn't really close enough, you can just run around, and if you're good at dashing, you can dash across and just skip this entire fight. And now you gotta fight in this bubble, which the first wave is simple. It's just a bunch of soldiers that's gonna run into the center. In my Hell on Earth guide, I talk about if you hit a sticky bomb at the feet of a soldier, you're gonna put him into a glory kill, so you can basically just constantly feed yourself health here by doing that. After a while, a Revenant and a Cybermancubus is gonna spawn. All you gotta do, Cybermancubus, Ice Bomb, Blood Punch, Super Shotgun, or Ballista gets rid of them. Revenants are super simple, and that's basically it. A bunch of fodder demon, a Revenant, and a Cybermancubus. In the next bubble, you're going to come across a turret, which again, you can actually ice bomb to get rid of them easy. There's going to be a bunch of imps that are going to rush you. Just hit them with an ice bomb, flame belch, and then regular grenade. And then after clearing those out, 2 whiplashes are going to spawn back to back, and then 2 hell knights. I also want to point out, in almost every single bubble, there's going to be at least 1 or 2 fuel canisters just on the outskirts. So if you're paying close attention, you can almost end every single bubble with a max chainsaw, which you can use to immediately take out almost any heavy demon, which is going to come in handy because in the next bubble you're going to be facing 2 dread knights at the same time, which if you don't have a max chainsaw, that's perfectly fine. You can just use a lock-on burst on both of them to put them both in a glory kill, which should spawn a 3rd dread knight and a cacodemon. And I also want to point out, whenever I don't know what exactly is coming up, I'm moving by jumping up and in the circular motion in the air to just stay on the move, stay fluid, while also trying to ensure that I'm not getting caught off guard or hit by anything that is spawning in. But it's going to be 3 dread knights, a cacodemon, a mancubus, and then you're going to move on to the next bubble, which is probably the most annoying bubble. You're going to deal with a bunch of shielded soldiers, which blood punch, ice bomb, grenades, sticky bombs, flame belch, meat hook. These are all the things that are going to be your best friends here. I say meat hook even though technically everything else is better here, but the reason why I say meat hook is because you're opening at least 1 to being killed instantly, and you're getting a little of your armor back in the process. Once you kill all these soldiers, a Spectre Pink is going to spawn in. You're going to want to kill that, followed by a Baron. And as I mentioned before, with demons with larger health pools, I highly recommend ice bombing for the simple fact that they do drop health, and it does grant a little bit of extra damage. Once the Baron's killed, you're going to move on to the very final bubble, which as you start to get closer to the bubble, you're going to notice that there's another turret here. Again, ice bombing. And then if you're accustomed to aim snapping, I'd recommend utilizing that to get rid of that eye very quickly, because in this last bubble, you're going to be fighting a Marauder, which I can't be the only one that feels like Marauders were nerfed with the DLC. Especially going from the DLC to the base game still feels a little harder. But I digress. You just basically want to take your time, don't rush it. If you need to, as I did there, I dashed out into the open there. You can also pull out your shield mod for the chain gun, which is going to protect you from those environmental hazards. And that is it. You're successfully done with the bubble section. Now, if you want to take out the second secret encounter of this level, now would be your time. Which in this spot, you can come back over here to this platforming section. I take a quick detour because there's actually some sentinel armor that you can pick up over here. But instead of detouring to the right, if you go straight, you're going to climb this wall, you're going to make a left, and then you're going to go straight and drop down into the hole there. I end up going off to the side to grab the codex really quick, but you're going to want to jump back up here, go down the hole, go through the breakable wall, climb this wall, knock over the block, go straight. You're going to do a little bit more platforming, and now you're in this open room with just the secret encounter. Now when you start the secret encounter, you're going to prioritize the mancubus that spawns in from the doorway we entered the arena from. Once that mancubus is killed, you're going to immediately want to turn around because there's a cacodemon behind you. You're going to want to focus on the cacodemon, and then after that there's going to be a baron that spawns. And this is the gameplay where the cacodemon decided to just say fuck you and completely get out of that glory kill. I mean, I'm telling you, dude, this entire run was destined to just have me fail. From the meat hook to the cacodemon to the arena that glitched out, this was not my level. But essentially, you just got to clear out those 3 heavy demons and then all the fodder demon, and the secret encounter is done. Once that encounter is done and all this platforming is over with, when you make it to the other end of these platforms, you're going to deal with a bunch of, you're going to deal with 2 soldiers immediately, a turn on the elevated platform, and then a mob of imps. When you're about 3/4 of the way done with those mob of imps, one of the 2 barons are going to spawn, and that baron is going to be possessed. Because why not? In this specific gameplay, the turret was still alive, so I focused on the turn, and then I went back to the same strategy as the previous strategy where I was dealing with the possessed baron. You just want to constantly stay on the move, out of their reach. I recommend trying to get the cue balls to hit the barons just for a little extra damage. I would also say use the 3 different levels to your advantage. Drop down on the lower level, jump up on the higher level, use the mid ground to keep that spatial advantage. And then you'll notice, as I mentioned earlier, finished off the possessed baron, and then right before focusing on the spirit, I ice bomb the other baron so that way I can deal with that spirit without having to worry about that baron. I would also say, because I'd imagine someone's bound to use a BFG shot here, I really don't feel like it's necessary. I feel like that extra BFG shot is much more useful in that next arena we're about to enter, which is a very, very easy arena. So the way this arena goes is when it starts, a cyber mancubus is going to spawn directly in front of you, and I think there's going to be another 2 or 3 mancubi along with 2 barons. When that whole wave is cleared, 4 revenants are going to spawn, and then when all 4 revenants are killed, a handful of arachnotrons are going to spawn. One of those arachnotrons are going to already be possessed, and I can't say how many arachnotrons actually spawn because in the strategy I use is basically once that 4th revenant is killed, I immediately fire off a BFG shot, killing everything. And 9 times out of 10, if the spirit does spawn, depending on how quick you are, which is weird, sometimes I was so fast that the spirit never showed up, other times the spirit showed up on my right hand side. So if you fire off that BFG shot, if you're a little sluggish and the spirit does spawn, or not sluggish, but if the game hates you enough to have that spirit still spawn in, I'd recommend hitting a launch pad to get a bird's eye view of where that summoner could potentially be. And then once the summoner is killed, along with all the arachnotrons, an archvile is going to spawn in the back of the arena, along with a doom hunter. And then once that first archvile is killed, a second archvile is going to spawn. So essentially you got to deal with 2 archviles and a doom hunter in the last leg of the fight. Now I personally feel like a full walkthrough isn't necessary since I gave you the basic rundown, but essentially cyber mancubus first, 2 mancubi, and then take out the 2 barons while utilizing the launch pads. After that, 4 revenants. You can take out all 4 with the lock-on mod from the rocket launcher if you feel like it. Doesn't really matter. The key here being keep track of how many revenants you killed, because on that 4th one, don't hesitate to fire off that BFG shot. That could be your saving grace on whether if you're gonna have a summoner in this fight or not. Once all the arachnotrons are killed, an archvile is gonna spawn in the back of the arena. After that archvile is done, you're gonna want to immediately prioritize that second archvile because you don't want to deal with any other heavy demons in this fight, and then you can focus exclusively on that doom hunter. And now you're on to the last fight of the entire level, the quote-unquote boss fight. Technically it's a boss fight, but it's not at the same time. Basically in this fight, I mean, these guides are obviously tailored for controller, so what I recommend is for the highest damage output is precision bolt and ballista, and you want to utilize your meat hook to move around, because if you guys haven't noticed, when you're in the air, Hell Knights, which is basically your biggest threat in these fights, don't move. They're frozen. So you want to utilize your meat hook to move about this circular platform, and for the most damage you want to utilize your precision bolt and ballista. And if you're actually fast enough on controller, you can throw yourself in the air via meat hook, follow that up with a precision bolt ballista shot for what I feel to be the highest damage output. I would actually say just try not to pay any mind to the pinky or the Hell Knight that's chasing after you. Your main concern really is to not get hit by the damn eyes, because if they hit you, that's it, you're not moving, and that's basically what's going to screw you over. I might actually suggest in this scenario to use blood fuel, so that way you can move a little faster and constantly stay on the move. But after you take out the 2 eyes, on the last stage you have to fight both eyes simultaneously. If you can, I would suggest hitting both of them. Don't focus on one, try to hit them both. That way you can chip at both of them and you're not in this fight longer than you need to be. If that adds extra pressure to you, then by all means feel free to focus on one. I'm just simply suggesting focusing on both of them, because it'll just make your life a whole lot easier. Now there's my death marker. I died a lot in this fight. I actually almost died during this one too. I got stuck on these motherfuckers. But that's it. Basically just run around in a circle, stay on the move. Seriously, don't pay any mind to the pinkies or Hell Knights that's chasing you. If you can hit them with an ice bomb, all the power to you, but that's not going to affect the eyes that are going to hit you and make you stop moving. But that's my recommendation. Stay on the move, precision bolt, ballista for the best damage down range, and that is it. You've successfully completed Blood Swamps on Ultra Nightmare. Congratulations. I think this is officially the longest guide I've made, maybe. I did skip the finer details because I feel like if you're playing Ultra Nightmare on Blood Swamps, you should be familiar with the game's mechanics by now. So there's no reason in holding your hand through every single bit of the entire level. But if you guys do need some clarifications on any specific fight, anything like that, you want to add to the conversation, you want to share some tips on the Holt before that guide comes out, by all means feel free to share that stuff down below. Let me know what you guys think about this guide. I did what you asked of me. I put it in one solid video. Hopefully you guys did enjoy it. Hopefully you guys did find it helpful. But like always, my name is Cynic. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm gonna go blow my brains out. Get started on the Holt. But until next time, I'll see y'all later.